Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out another brand new figure, this time from PNSO, who has been pumping out some pretty sweet figures lately. And as you can see, we have the Mapusaurus, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Really love the coloration of this one. Of course, the sculpt is great. It's PNSO, that's to be expected. But the coloration of this one was probably one of the more striking aspects to me of the model. Like, I just really loved the colors I had seen in the promotional images, and of course here on the box. So I'm super excited to pull it out and check it out here in person, because I feel like the promotional images never truly do the figure justice. Like, you really need to see it in hand, or at the very least in a review, to really grasp how nice the paint job will actually be on the factory produced version. But as far as the box art goes, if I don't knock it over, you can see we again have the image there of the Mapusaurus on the front, and you can also see the PNSO logo. Nice shot of the Mapusaurus up here on the top as well. Of course, it's going to be pretty much the same thing if you turn it around. And then we've got like a headshot on the side, and then not really much going on over there or on the underside. You know, pretty much your standard when it comes to the PNSO figures. So let's pop it out of the box and check it out. First of all, we've got our little stand here, as you always get with your PNSO figures. On top of that, we've got the booklet that you also always get with your PNSO figures, which usually contains some really cool information as well as some really cool images. Normally, we've got, again, some dinosaur toy photography, some nice photo galleries of the figure. Looks absolutely incredible right there. And then as you move through, you'll find all sorts of information, all sorts of images of the species that we are looking at. That is an awesome looking picture. Really cool looking paint scheme there. I have a feeling that might end up being the poster, but I'm not entirely sure quite yet. But you can see again, as you move through, it is absolutely overloaded with awesomeness, as these booklets always are. So definitely worth a read once you get your Mapusaurus and you get the booklet out. Definitely check it out, read it, look through it. Lots of awesome, cool stuff in there. And then, of course, we have the poster, which immediately has a nice shot there of the head of the dinosaur kind of looking at us. So let's open it up if I can figure out how to do that, because apparently my fingers aren't working too well. Oh, wow, it's a little bit different than I was expecting. So if we put that back there, and then we just kind of take a look up at it, you can see that the poster sports not only that image that we were just taking a look at of the Mapusaurus, but also a different kind of an angle there of the head. And man, that looks incredible. I absolutely love the artwork of PNSO. It always just blows my mind how good it is. And it's also a really quite nice looking paint scheme for the dinosaur. Maybe something I'll have to borrow at some point, because it does kind of look a bit different compared to the paint scheme we got on the actual figure. And it's really quite nice looking, honestly. Quite beautiful paint scheme for the dinosaur. But definitely another awesome extra, of course, is the poster. But if we move all of this stuff out of here and we take a look at the star of the show, we've got our Mapusaurus figure itself. And wow, that is absolutely beautiful. Like, drop dead gorgeous, honestly. That is a really nice looking sculpt, as I expected it to be. Never worried about the quality of the sculpt of a PNSO release, but the paint job looks beautiful here in hand. Like, really nice, very smooth transitions overall, and just an extremely flashy and catchy looking paint scheme by PNSO. Definitely loving what I'm seeing here. This actually might be my second favorite figure right here before me. Like, I think I like this almost as much as their Dino-Kyrus. Not quite. That's going to be a really hard one to ever beat out. I don't see that ever happening, but this definitely is very, very high on the top of my list as far as PNSO releases. This thing looks absolutely phenomenal, so let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Mapusaurus, you can see it sports the exact same style of scale detail and skin texture we've seen on a few of the most recent releases of PNSO, and for good reason, obviously, as they're all very similar species. But you can see we've got some larger scales here in the snout that lead back to finer scaling as we lead along the course of the palette back toward the eye socket, and we just continue to run along the head sculpt of the dinosaur. It all looks extremely vibrant, extremely impressive, very, very high quality. I also love that we have quite a bit of variation of color here on the faces. We have all sorts of dark tones of color, but we also have a nice brown wash that kind of creeps in and out of a lot of the scales there, those larger scales on the snout, and it looks really good, really highlights the detail. I actually think when I had seen the images of the prototype The coloration that they had used as far as the wash was a slightly different, lighter tone. I actually much prefer this tone. I think that looks really nice as far as that darker brown, and absolutely makes all of that scale detail pop in an extremely realistic way. You can also see the nostrils sculpted out right there at the tip of the snout. As you lead back into the palette, you see some lighter tones as well as kind of like some hints of some slight browns that kind of run around the outer edge of the palette. And then as you lead back here, you see the coloration darken again as we get toward the eye socket. You can see the eye is painted with a yellow with a really nice black pupil and a gorgeous gloss coat, making it have that nice realistic shine. You can also take notice to the fact that we do have the ear sculpted out right there. As we open the mouth of the dinosaur, the jaw articulates perfectly. We can see the detail there on the inside of the mouth is incredibly well done, really nicely painted as well. You can see a nice pinkish tone with a reddish wash, giving some nice color variation. We can see the teeth are all sculpted out individually. They all look really quite nice overall. Very realistically sculpted, very nicely painted. You can see they're all painted with kind of an off-white. And then if we take a look at the inside of the mouth, you can see the tongue sculpted out in there. Some nice detailing to the tongue itself, as well as, again, that reddish wash. And then you get a look at the inside of the mouth up here, and it always gets so impressive as we lead up here. You can see, of course, the nice gloss coat, making everything have that kind of wet look, that saliva-like look. But man, that detailing and paintwork is honestly out of this world. That just looks super realistic, as it always does. And then, of course, here is the opposing side of the head, as we were just taking a look at the other side of the head a moment ago. But as you lead back into the neck, you can see more nice creasing, more nice scale detail. You can also see the dinosaur has its head facing pretty straight forward, but with a slight tilt to the head, slight turn to the head toward its right, ever so slight. You can see some lighter tones picking up, and they kind of stripe down through the body. You can also see some of the darker tones kind of striping down, as well as some darker tones kind of running along the lower part of the lighter tone. And there are some variations of some slight, like, kind of orangish browns, or some sort of a variation of a light brown leading along there. It kind of looks like orangish browns there, a little bit darker up here, but it looks really cool. Super smooth application of the paint. It all looks extremely natural, extremely lifelike. And as you lead down along the back, you can take notice to the spinal column, as well as, again, if we get nice and close, you can see how gorgeous that skin detail looks and that scale detail. Incredible is honestly putting it mildly. As you look here, you can kind of see like some structure and tensing to the neck. You can also see some wrinkling as you lead down toward the body. And then we lead down into the arms. The arms are very nicely sculpted. You've got some muscle definition shown. You've also got some wrinkling right there behind the arm as the arm kind of pushes into the stomach region of the dinosaur. We also have some more nice looking paintwork as we lead down with some darker tones. But you can also see some lighter tones kind of creeping in there. We've got the elbow present, nice bending to the skin there, or creasing in the skin in the joint of the elbow. And then you've also got some really nicely sculpted fingers, beautifully painted nails with a nice lighter, kind of like a brownish sort of a tone. And of course, the arm on the opposing side is similarly placed, but you can see it's slightly different, like slightly held forward. And PNSO is always great at giving their dinosaurs, a lot of life. But as you lead back here into the stomach region, more really nice looking skin detail. You have more of that darker, kind of a grayish tone that sort of stripes through and splotches through the side of the stomach here. And then you have more, if my camera stays focused, you have more of those variations of like lighter browns and stuff. Really nice lighter tone here for the underside of the dinosaur as well, and you can see the scale detail looks great down here. As you lead back up, you can see that the hip bone is kind of present, but not super obvious. They've done a good job of not making the dinosaur look shrink-wrapped or starved or anything. It definitely looks very healthy. As we lead down, we've got a very nice muscular large thigh, some more kind of spotting as you move down with the darker tone, and just generally like some variation of grays as you move down the course of the leg. And the skin detail, especially when you lead back into the back of the thigh, is crazy nice looking. Like you can see all kinds of wrinkling and creasing leading all the way down to the joint of the knee. We've got the kneecap there in the front, incredibly large bulging calf muscle in the back, and a really nice looking foot sculpt. As you lead down, you can see very bird-like as far as the appearance of the foot sculpt goes. You've got some scoots down the front of the foot leading down into the toes. The foot is kind of picking up off of the ground, or actually I would say more so than picking up off of the ground, I would say it's actually hitting the ground, so it's about to plant its foot. And you can see the nails are very nicely sculpted and yet again painted with that kind of light brown. And there's also a light wash that's kind of crawling in and out of all of the skin texture down here in the foot of the dinosaur as well. Incredibly smooth paintwork as you lead back up also. But as you lead out into the tail, you see more creasing and everything back here behind the thigh, even a little bit more here on the underside of the dinosaur. And then as you lead up into the tail, we start to kind of have this darker gray sort of design, and it kind of has almost a striping effect as you lead out the length of the tail. It looks extremely cool. I really like that area of the coloration as well. It's the first area where this dark gray kind of begins to separate, and you have the lighter tone kind of in between, and you also have some more of those variations of browns showing up. And if you look at it here, you can really just see how nice that scale detail pops on the sculpt. It is really impressive as far as the fine detail goes. And you can also see a nice curve to the tail, not a super dramatic curve, but just a nice natural, kind of like a curve like the dinosaur is just walking along. And then as we take a look here at the opposing side of the body, you can see the head again where we originally started out. You can get a good look at the neck region. Not anything really too different over here. Looks pretty similar to what we had just seen on the initial side, because the head only has a slight turn to it. You're not going to really see much difference. Same for the body, except for the fact that as we lead back, you can see a slight different positioning there for the hand. But then leading back here into the stomach, you can see a little more of the stomach because this leg is trailing. As the dinosaur walks along, that gives us a better view of the stomach region here. You can see the skin stretching off of the stomach as the leg trails there, and again, more of that incredibly nice, extremely natural paintwork that we have for the figure. And then you lead back, you can see all kinds of, again, really nice creasing and wrinkling back there in the back of the thigh, leading down into the knee, again, that very large calf muscle. And then as you lead down, you've got that really nice looking foot sculpt here. You can see these toes are picking up off of the ground pretty much, again, to take its next step. So it looks as though maybe our Mapusaurus is actually moving at a pretty decent speed, maybe chasing down its next meal. But really nice looking foot sculpt yet again. You can see the dew claw over there also kind of pick up on that light wash yet again that I was mentioning earlier. And then as you lead out, you again lead out into the tail, and yet again it looks beautiful over here with that really cool design, that kind of striping design as you lead out the length of the tail. So this is absolutely one of my new favorites from PNSO, and like I had said earlier, I would say it probably is my second favorite overall, right behind the Dinosaurus. I will say one issue I am having with my Mapusaurus is it's actually not standing too well right out of the box. Normally, I don't ever have a problem with my PNSO figures standing. Maybe over time they might start to kind of wear down a little bit and, you know, the stands come in handy then. I normally don't have any problems right out of the box, but this one is giving me a little trouble. It's not standing too well, so we'll just use the stand. I do at least love the fact that they kind of give you a clear stand, so it's not so obvious that it's there if you do need to use it. But I have seen some other people that had theirs and they didn't have any standing issues with theirs. But for a size, lengthwise, you're looking at right around 14 inches, almost on the dot, or about 35.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would probably be the back right here in the hip region. You're looking at about 4 inches or around 10 centimeters for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our brand new PNSO Mapusaurus. And you can see, even though it's a little lower to the ground because of the kind of running pose that it's in, it still is a quite sizable figure, as you would expect for a Mapusaurus. But for another comparison, we have some of the more recent offerings straight away, one of which is the Giganotosaurus, which has just recently been released by PNSO next to the Mapusaurus, and they look absolutely awesome next to each other. Super, super cool visual of these two dinosaurs next to each other, and two honestly out-of-this-world gorgeous models right here. But for another comparison, another one of my new favorites from PNSO, we have the Maraxus, which was the release prior to the Mapusaurus, and it is just crazy to look at how good these figures are, and to know that PNSO just continues to deliver such impressive figures at such a high rate. Like, they give us so many figures throughout the course of the year, and they don't just give us lackluster figures. Like, they are always like masterpieces, honestly. And yet again, you can see two of those right here with the Mapusaurus and Maraxus. We've also got the PNSO Carcharodontosaurus here next to our Mapusaurus, and you can see it is a little bit smaller than the Mapusaurus is. They as well look super cool next to each other, though. Then we've got ourselves a classic with Wilson the Tyrannosaurus Rex, not facing the best position in the world because he's facing the current positioning of the Mapusaurus, but next to our Mapusaurus, you can see the Rex is a little bit bigger, I would say, just a little bit bulkier, a little bit longer than our Mapusaurus, but yet again, they look absolutely phenomenal together. We've also got the PNSO Spinosaurus next to the PNSO Mapusaurus. obviously a pretty big size difference between these two. I would love to see PNSO take another stab at the Spinosaurus with a larger scale. That would be awesome. There is also the Centrosaurus here from PNSO, just for a random herbivore to stand in next to the Mapusaurus. And then another one of my definitive favorites from PNSO, we also have the Acrocanthosaurus next to the Mapusaurus. Oh man, so many beautiful PNSO figures. It is crazy, but super cool again as far as a comparison with these two next to each other, just showing off how good PNSO really is. And then for one final comparison that I think a lot of people actually want to see, and I know that there would have been some people in the comment section asking for it had I not given you this comparison, we have the Collectate Deluxe Mapusaurus next to the PNSO version, and they both look really cool together, but I absolutely must favor the PNSO version. They definitely win this round, as that Mapusaurus from PNSO I feel like is going to be untouchable for a very, very long time to come. So this brand new PNSO Mapusaurus is another, honestly, masterpiece from PNSO. They just never cease to amaze me. The sculpt is gorgeous on this. I love the pose of it, just kind of walking along, or maybe even kind of just trotting in. If you have the mouth open, it absolutely looks like it's kind of charging in for some prey, maybe going for the leg of a larger animal, or even maybe just kind of chasing down a smaller dinosaur because it's kind of crouched down and the head is leaning down. On top of that, the fine detail is, as always, incredible. Like, I don't know that anybody can create, skin texture and fine detail of dinosaur models as good as PNSO. They are just on another level, honestly. And we also have a really nice paint scheme, and I like the paint scheme. It's very different than what we've seen through a lot of the previous PNSO releases, which is a plus, especially when they have this many models out, but they continue to deliver nice paint schemes that always look like they 100% could be the coloration of the dinosaur that they are creating. Definitely a really big fan of the paint scheme on this one and the tones of color they've used for it. On top of that, the transitions are extremely smooth, and they've done a great job of applying some really nice washes, whether it be dark washes in certain areas and light washes in others, to create some amazing, very, very nice and naturalistic colorations and paintwork for this release. So if you are interested in grabbing this Mapusaurus for yourself, and it is definitely a very large recommendation from me, make sure you head to the link that I will include in the description. Actually, I'll have two links, because you'll have one to Amazon, where you can purchase it from the Amazon PNSO store, or Aliexpress from the Aliexpress PNSO store. One way or another, definitely recommend grabbing this, so do that, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.